pj-fleck-show is brought to you by Cup Foods and Affinity Plus.
You have to do it. You got to want to do it right now.
Now, it's the pj-fleck-show with Pierre Nugent, Ron Johnson, and Justin Gard.
Let's roll.
4 weeks into the college football season, and the Gophers remain perfect at a perfect 4-0. Welcome to the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. Joined as always by the head coach of Gopher football, PJ Fleck, alongside Hall of Fame wide receiver Ron Johnson, and K-fans Justin Gard. An impressive, dominating performance against Michigan State as Minnesota defeated the Spartans 34-7 last week in East Lansing. Coach, everybody's talking about your team right now, kind of a buzz surrounding you guys after the way you guys dominated Michigan State. What perhaps impressed you the most about your group in Saturday's victory?
Well, we talked about total consistency from offense, defense, and special teams, and we got that in all three phases. But that doesn't promise that we're going to keep getting it. We got to keep earning it. Their week of preparation was tremendous to get them to that particular point, and they went in there, take the logos off, just played our style of football, and we're very efficient.
Yeah, Coach, you look at Mo Ibrahim. I mean, great day, but the record is now his. He's in the history books for Minnesota. He always probably was going to be there anyway, but now the record is his. We've seen a lot of records fall in your tenure. But what does this mean to you and Mo?
Well, first of all, it's a credit to what DT did, and the legacy he left here at the University of Minnesota. And I know Mohammed respects him wholeheartedly, and so do I. But those records are made to fall, and they're there for a reason. They're there for people to chase. And I know it's not the most important thing on Mo's mind, but he understands the better the team does, those types of individual accolades and those records will fall. And you're talking two of the best players that ever played at the University of Minnesota. That's what's so fun about it, is you can connect the past to the present, and then one day somebody will go ahead and break Mo's record and talk about DT and Mo, and that's what's so fun about college football.
And Darryl loves his records being broken, much more gracious than you were a few years ago when Tyler Johnson and Bateman were doing those things. DT on the radio. That's radio ego, TV ego. That's the difference there. Tanner Morgan, unbelievable day for him. Boy, did he look comfortable, 23 of 26, co-Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. It was one of those vintage Tanner days where everything was clicking. How was he in such a rhythm?
Well, he was taking what the defense gave him, and him and Kirk it was almost just ham and egging. Whatever they did to be able to stop one thing, we were able to do the other. But it wasn't just the play calls, the execution within the play. It's not just about throwing, pitching, and catching. You've got to make those plays. Not only that, you've got to be able to create with your feet like Tanner does here. He's got such a great understanding of the offense. He does such a good job of the unrequired work during the week to master the defenses that he's going to see, that he knows what it looks like when he knows there's going to be ability to run, pick up a first down with his legs. And he did that 2 or 3 times in the Michigan State game, which were huge plays for us. But a lot of guys are catching passes right now. A lot of guys are being involved. And we said that in January, that this was going to be a complete team and be a team effort if we wanted to have any success.
Yeah, and to kind of go off of that, last week on this set, we were talking about that very thing, with Chris Ottman-Bell going down with injury, and you knew it was going to have to be distributed out perhaps a little bit more. You had 10 different guys catch at least one pass in the game against Michigan State. Is that just going to be the formula going forward, you think, and that's how it's going to look without Crab in the lineup?
It's going to have to look that way. And I think it would have looked that way even if Crab is in the lineup, based on the type of team we have. Every year, and it's corny that coaches always say this, but every year is its own entity, right? It's a completely different team. There is nothing connected to the last year's team. Maybe some familiar faces, but how you manage your roster and what you look at, what type of DNA that team's actually going to be is completely different. We have way more tight ends involved in the pass game. There's way more receivers involved in the pass game. Our system's even different than it was last year. Our defense is playing at a different level than it was last year. And so everything affects everything. But we do have we're more consistent across the board of who can make plays, and they all deserve to be involved.
Yeah, and when you look at third down, offense wants to continue a drive and the defense wants to get off the field, but you were very efficient in this game. What went into that whole preparation?
Well, we talked about total consistency, and efficiency falls inside that total consistency. Is that, listen, we're going to go attack, but we're also going to let the game come to us based on how they're going to defend us. And as you watch the game and you watch it from an X and O standpoint, they were doing everything they could to stop the run, but then they were susceptible to the pass. And not only that, they'd fall back into coverage, and then we'd be able to run the football. And Kirk has such a great understanding of how defenses are going to play us, not only in the run and pass, but the RPO game as well, and how to be able to counter that. Doesn't mean it's always perfect. They get paid money too. They have scholarships as well. But this was just a really good performance of how we put it all together.
Defensively, it's hard to live off just getting turnovers, but everybody wants them. They're important. And right now it seems like you have the best of both worlds. Certainly on Saturday, your defense is stout, but the one drive where they got down there, you force a turnover. How much do you emphasize taking the ball away?
Well, you've been to a lot of practices. I mean, we talked about them. It's written all over the place.
I was looking. Did you see? Where is the ball?
The ball is the program
there
right
it
over
is,
there.
right over there. Yeah.
And I think it's one thing to say it. It's one thing to work on it. So whatever you see inside our wall, especially culturally, like the ball's a program, we work on every single day, right? So how do you create an advantage and how do you teach your team to win? You take the categories that are directly tied to winning and you focus on those. So for us, it's the ball, it's tackling, it's explosive plays, defense limiting that and creating takeaways, and then on offense, limiting that and creating explosive plays. And you work on that in practice, and not only that, but within your scheme. How do you move your players around to create those opportunities? Justin Wally had a pick, he had the fumble recovery, and good things happen on defense when you're around the football. And this defense is swarming around the football right now, and this team we're going to play coming up is going to test us in the amount of space they make you cover.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, I want to go back to the opening drive of the game against Michigan State. That really set the tone for what happened the rest of the afternoon. As a coach, before a game starts, or maybe even early in the game, do you look for certain signs, or does anything happen that makes you think, and you see and you think, oh yeah, my team came ready to play today?
Yeah, I think that, when you see, I think you see that come Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You kind of a feel of what type of team's going to be on that field. Now, when we talk total consistency, we don't want to be a team that's up and down. You don't know what you're going to get on Saturday. That usually happens when you have a very youthful team and an immature team, and maybe a team hasn't played a lot. But when you have a mature team, you know what you have an expectation, they have an expectation, and especially when you're a player-led team, you sense that that's going to be the way. Nothing surprises me on game day anymore, though, after doing this 10 years. Nothing surprises me. So you're ready for it all. But it set a tone, but that's our standard. It's a standard every drive to execute at that level. And then we have to do the same thing on defense and special teams. And they were able to put together that type of complete game. And the great thing about it is we can play a lot better. And there's a lot of room to grow.
And talk about surprise. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. You're playing Purdue. But the coach was interviewed and said, this is the best team they're going to face. They've already played Penn State. What does that mean to you? Are you surprised at that, or you just know, like, this is my team is that good?
Well, that's all external. I think we know how good we're going to be. People are going to, compliment us. People are going to tell us what we can't do. It's like the story of Nehemiah building the walls of Jerusalem. They're like, you got to keep all that out there, and if we can keep focusing on ourselves and just keep getting better, stay internally focused, we have the best chance each week to be 1-0. And that's what this whole season's been about, the 1-0 championship seasons. And these guys take it very personal that way. And they bought into it. Today's practice, it was just, they got after it again. And they just keep, and that doesn't promise us anything, but they just keep showing up and meeting that expectation daily.
You know a Jeff Brom offense well. You know Aiden O'Connell well because you've gone up against him. You don't know for sure if he's going to play, but does that enter into any preparation, or how do you prepare when there is uncertainty at quarterback?
Well, you do know one thing about a Jeff Brom offense is the quarterback's going to play really well. He puts his players in positions where they succeed. Whoever plays, the strength of that quarterback will be shown on Saturday, and he's going to do everything he can to get the ball to his playmakers. And that's one thing he's really good at and has always been really good at as a play caller and as a head coach as a play caller. And so we know they're going to be able to get the ball. We're expecting everybody to play. We always do that. We don't listen to questionable, doubtful, probable. It's not like the NFL. So we expect everybody to play. We'll prepare that way and go from there.
More to come here on the PJ Fleck Show. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this defense. Boy, how good have they been this season? Thomas Rush going to be joining us on set coming up next right here on the PJ Fleck Show.
Let's row the boat. You're watching the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back into the PJ Fleck Show, everybody. Boy, this defense here at the University of Minnesota has just played lights-out football through the first 4 weeks of the season, and one of the members of the defense kind enough to join us on set right now, Thomas Rush. Thomas, first of all, the shirt is fantastic. I need to know where I can get me one of those. Are those football players exclusive?
Oh, this is Unreal, right?
Yeah, Unreal.
Oh, really?
Oh, Waggle, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's Waggle.
Waggle.
Okay,
Waggle.
very good.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
they get a free plug. We can bill them maybe next week if we have them back. Thomas, you've spent so much time here at the University of Minnesota. You know what to expect from Coach Fleck and the coaching staff. For yourself personally, when you go into your senior season, or I mean, you've been, a senior for I don't know how many years now, but what do you expect from yourself this season in terms of personal goals, things you want to see from yourself this season?
I think the coaches, I kind of had a lot of talks with Coach Rossi, and I've talked with Coach Fleck and Coach Brick Haley about just what the defense needs, I think, foremost, and then kind of what I need to work on. But overall, I really think going into it, there's a standard that the defense has a level of play, and that Coach Rossi always talks on that, and your job's your job. And I'm not worried about making a play or doing anything superhuman. I'm just going into that to execute my responsibility to the highest level I can.
We see a lot of phrases thrown out about Coach Rossi, which he hates, which means we're going to keep doing it. Like guru.
Yeah.
Everybody hates when he gets called a guru, but you get to play with him, for him. You get to be in meeting rooms with him every day. What a transformation he's put this defense under since he took over a few years back. What makes him such a unique coach?
I think I just go back to the standard he holds, and each guy's got a responsibility, and he holds the defense to a standard. That's every guy in the room. That's not just me or Mariano. That's Danny Strigow, Ja Joyner, Trill, and every other guy in that room is held to the same standard, whether you're on the field, off the field, no matter what it is. And I think the detail that he brings to each of those spots on the defense is just phenomenal. I think that's really what makes us who we are.
And PJ, from a leadership standpoint, what does Thomas bring to the table? How have you seen him grow over these last few years?
Well, just him being on the TV show, he's grown a tremendous amount. When he first got her, he didn't say a word, right? This interview would be already over, right? He wouldn't say anything. I really think he's come out of his shell. I mean, he's got an incredible amount of confidence. He was a high school tailback. You're talking about a really good high school player, and you watch a lot of the things he does, and he moves like a running back, but he's so big that R position, that Carter Coughlin position, he fits it so well. And some things just come around. We call it the rush position. His last name's Rush. It just fits like a glove, and it's perfect, like he's meant to be here. He's overcome a lot in his life, especially over the last year, losing his father. And you go through that with young people, and he has handled it beautifully. And I know he's grieved and gone through his own process, but to watch him now be able to have that to give to other people and to bring people in that he can have empathy with, and a lot of our teammates who grew up with even out of dad, and be able to have that connection with him. He's just become an unbelievable leader, just a wonderful person, which he's always been, but he's been becoming a little bit more infectious that way, where he's been willing to talk about things more and really, be a little bit more vocal.
What has that growth been like for you? Not just the off-the-field stuff, being more vocal, but being a leader of the team. A year ago, Boye Mafe would probably be thought of as a guy that you split time with. You still had 5.5 sacks, so pretty good. But just your development, both on the field and off the field, in your time here. What do you think about it as you reflect?
I honestly kind of just really give the credit to Coach Fleck and the culture he brings and the culture he's instilled in the team. And I think there's a lot of things I've gone through in my life and just kind of questioned and wondered, how to put things in the words, what's the right thing to do. And I think being here for the going on 5 years I've been here, Coach Fleck has been able to give that to me and give that to other guys on the team. And then, allow me to develop and give that to the rest of the guys that are coming in, the freshmen, guys that have been here for only a year. I just think the things that are taught here are life lessons that are invaluable and just someplace so you don't get those anywhere else.
Last question for you. Last week against Michigan State, especially we talked about the first drive of the game from the offense that really set a really good tone for you guys the rest of the way. But did you notice the crowd being taken out of that game early? What was it like to go in with a lot of people juiced up for this game and then suddenly there's a hush over the building that you guys were responsible for?
I'll be honest with you, I didn't really notice it too much.
Okay.
I get on the sideline and I'm with the guys talking about what's going on, what's next, any adjustments, or is there anything we see? Talking with Coach Haley, getting on the headphones with Coach Rossi, just kind of seeing what's going on. And I mean, wasn't really anything that I was thinking about or no. It's just because I was so focused on what was going on with the game.
Good answer. At the end of the game, everybody's gone except Gopher fans, though. And this is like the third or fourth time where that's happened. I go back to Madison in 2018, Colorado a year ago. For both of you guys, what a cool feeling that must be to have a once full stadium and it's just maroon and gold at the end and you guys go right to them.
Yeah, we got great fans. I love them. Love them. Can't thank them enough for what they do for us, and just to see them there on the road and then have that after the game, it's awesome.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Thomas, we appreciate you taking the time. Continued health, continued success, and we'll keep
Thank
watching
you.
you down the
Feeling
rest of the
fresh?
line.
Defense hardly gets to play. I mean, it's 3 and outs all the
Hey.
time. Are you good? Everything good?
The offense keeps performing. We'll go out there and do our job. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Everybody doing their jobs and doing it so very, very well through the first 4 weeks of the season. More to come here on the PJ Fleck Show when we come back. Hey, it's homecoming week here at the University of Minnesota. When we come back, we'll talk to PJ about some of the traditions and some of the things he likes best about homecoming week next on the PJ Fleck Show.
Welcome back to the PJ Fleck Show. Let's row the boat.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the PJ Fleck Show. And like we mentioned before the break, it is homecoming week here at the University of Minnesota. Coach, you've been a part of these for many, many years. What's your favorite part about homecoming week, seeing fans and alumni come back? What's some of the traditions that you enjoy surrounding homecoming week?
Well, we don't get to see many of the traditions, so you hit it right on the head. It's the alumni coming back. It's for our fans. It's for everybody who's a Gopher fan, been a Gopher in the past, always a Gopher. Just to have the stripe out and have that type of atmosphere, that's what college football is all about. Just getting our fans back. But I always say this in homecoming: we're not in charge of like the punch and the streamers and decorating the gym and getting the homecoming court. Who's going to be this? Who's going to be that? Picking the music for the DJ. Like, we have zero in all that. What we have to do is put together a great product on Saturday and do everything we can to be 1-0 in the Purdue season. That's our job.
If you were in charge of the music, though, what would you pick?
Oh, just anything Ron likes. We got to keep the Hall of Famers happy. You know what I mean? You got to keep the Hall of
homecoming dances. We're playing the game. We're going back to the room.
Did the players know there's no dance yet? That was a couple of years ago.
You remember that? Oh, that is the greatest. The freshmen come here like, Coach,
Need a date.
When is the homecoming dance here? I was like, a bunch of house parties. I'm sure they could probably find something like that. You can't go to the, no bars in season, but you can go. I'm sure there's some house parties. Like, no, the actual dance. I was like, we don't. Then I had to step back and go, okay, we need to have a homecoming meeting about. It's a little different than high school. Everybody's getting ready to match their, their tux to a dress or something.
Absolutely.
Or what were those? The
cummerbund.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, that was the best prank ever. We'll talk about that later. But if you, when you look at the Gopher football Twitter, Instagram, everybody's talking now about the nationally ranked Gopher football team, and they should be higher, in my opinion. But do the players or the coaches pay attention to any of that?
I'm sure they hear it. It's impossible not to hear. We've addressed it, but to listen to it and believe it is another thing. And we need to be 1-0, right? Every single week. And it's what it is good for though, Ron? It's good for the university. We are not the most important thing on this campus. We're not even the most important thing in the state. But we are a front porch to a lot of certain things that for our city, our community, for our state, for our locker room, of just the world. And that helps all that. Helps tuition. It helps the University of Minnesota. So there's a responsibility to that. But that doesn't happen if you don't keep winning. So what we have to do is do our part, play our best football on Saturday, and take it one game at a time.
Is it helpful to have a guy like Tanner or a guy like Mariano, who I don't even know if Tanner knows you're ranked. I'm guessing he does, but he might look at it and say, okay, cool, on to the next thing, and have those guys as your leaders that are setting the tone for the whole group?
Well, the great thing is a lot of these guys have had it happen before.
Right.
This isn't the first time. I mean, I think we've been ranked 4 straight years at some point, or 3 of the last 4 years. So that they get it, they understand it. There's an expectation. It's not a big shock anymore. And that's the whole point of us coming here, and what we wanted to create was it not being shocking. And you got so many people that have now looked at it as an expectation. And that's the whole thing of raising the level of expectation here. So all of our alumni can be really proud of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And have our alumni want to be back here all the time. And that's part about joining all them together.
Part of football is enjoying the victories when they come, because they're obviously always hard fought. How do you, as a coach, want your players to celebrate victory? Is there a right way and a wrong way to celebrate victory? How do you go about them handling success? How do you want to see them handle success?
Well, there's a right way and a wrong way, and then there's our way. We have certain standards with our players. I'm not into a bunch of rules. We're into standards and expectations. Mm-hmm. If you want this is what you have to sacrifice. And that's a decision you all have to make as a player-led team. But we celebrate in that locker room. And if you've been in that locker room, doesn't matter who we beat, what happens, when we win, we celebrate it. We celebrate it on the right way home. We celebrate it on Sunday morning, and then it is over. So, of course, there's proper ways to do all of that, but we have a really smart team, and they understand right from wrong, and they understand our way. And it's not it's a mature team where they know they have to do that if they want to be able to get something really big. So they're willing to sacrifice that. And you're not having to teach that as much. You're always scared to death of it, but you don't have to teach it as much.
And as a former receiver, when you have a quarterback that's willing to throw the ball to anybody because he's reading his keys, he's not picking a guy out and saying, this is the guy I'm going to, how exciting is that receiver room knowing that at any moment in this game, Tanner's going to throw me the ball?
Well, you got to be humble and confident at the same time, because there could be times that you got 10 catches. Next game, you might have 1. You got to be really humble and know that it's about the team. And if you can do that, we're going to be a really good football team. If we get selfish, that's where really good teams go to die. But it's like a dartboard. Every time you throw a dart, you're not going to hit a bullseye. Quarterback's throw is always not going to be perfect. But if you can hit the dartboard and your catch radius gets bigger, it helps Tanner be able to get you the ball a lot more. So we want our receivers to have that type of dartboard mentality. Wherever you put it, as long as it's, my dad used to say, if you touch it, you better catch it. I was like, what? But that's what he used to tell us. And, right now, we have to have that mentality.
Did you always catch it?
In my own, I'm like Ron. In my own mind, I thought I did. If you ask him, no way.
You caught it enough.
I caught it enough.
Hopefully the Gophers catch it enough as well this weekend when they take on Purdue. Coach, once again, we thank you so much for joining us. Again, it is homecoming week at the University of Minnesota. Minnesota taking on Purdue, another Big Ten West matchup that we are certainly looking forward to this weekend here on campus at the U. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We'll see you back here next week for more of the PJ Fleck Show.